Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, the degeneracy just doesn't ever stop inside of the Walt Disney Parks, now does it, boys and girls? It doesn't seem like how many times we call them out for putting kids in situations where they probably shouldn't be in, obviously completely and totally confusing them, all the while the time claiming diversity and agenda-driven nonsense that we all know is put for one thing and one thing only, to rewrite and completely and totally change gender roles in the world around us and try to rewrite it in their own image, which is, of course, a image of where you can be anything you want, anytime you want, da, 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 da. What has literally turned now men into taking traditional gender roles from females, taking women's jobs, actually, which you'd think that at some point they'd be all upset about that because they decide to feel pretty, put on a dress, and because of California and a lot of the other places live in the kind of world where they can't say no to anybody out there about any of this kind of nonsense because they have no real moral foundation whatsoever to hold on to. They continue to push this kind of stuff. They continue to try to do this kind of stuff. And it's always weird how it seems like even when they push this kind of stuff and they claim they do such good background checks and all of this other kind of nonsense, it always seems like it doesn't take very long before we end up finding out about another arrest with a bunch of Disney employees because there are a bunch of creepy weirdos out there who intentionally try to take jobs like this so they can get close to children for very nefarious reasons. And it always seems like that wonderful sheriff down there in Florida is always finding another batch and another group of Disney employees that meet this exact same speculation. So when you essentially add that on top of allowing people who are clearly mentally deranged and have severe issues that they need to seek proper psychiatric counseling to address, allow them anywhere near people's children, needless to say, it upsets a few parents and it makes people absolutely put this out there. And this is not the first time we have ran across this exact same kind of incident. If for some reason you missed the video that we did on that before, definitely go check out our archives over there on Rumble. But it wasn't all that long ago. A very obvious man in a dress, man presenting in a dress, was out there at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique with a wonderful mustache, showing all of your lovely little sisters, all your lovely little girls and daughters and nieces and nephews out there exactly how to shop for a $250 dress. Yes, this man in a dress with an obvious mustache out there was escorting little girls to find their wonderful dresses and help them play dress up. I wonder if he helped them in the dressing room. So needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, you'd think after all the backlash that happened once again with all of that, you'd think they would have done something about it. But no, ladies and gentlemen, Disney keeps to full push steam ahead with trying to indoctrinate your children, trying to make think that men in dresses is perfectly okay while they do their hair, get close to them, and literally have physical interactions with them. This is disgusting. This is disturbing. This is another example that we need to present to you today so you know exactly why to keep your children the fuck away from Disney's parks. But let's go ahead and we're going to get into this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already. Because boys and girls, we are grinding, we are growing, and I promise you with an intro like that, this video isn't probably going to do very well in the algorithm. So please leave us a comment down below, help us out, and share it out with all your friends. So let's get into this. From That Park Place and our dear, sweet, renowned, and insightful scooper and wise man all around, WDW Pro himself. Families continue to fume as dress-wearing dudes at Disney World and Disneyland do little girls' hair and makeup. Boy, doesn't that sound fun. Now, as a guy that grew up in the back of a hair salon, my grandmother was a cosmetologist for 30 years. I've seen plenty of excellent male hairdressers out there that have done amazing things that women absolutely love. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't dress up in dresses and pretend to be ladies so they could get close to little girls. No, he was a chain-smoking, long-haired kind of hippie who made women feel beautiful. Unlike this creepy weirdo who's wearing a dress. We live in an interesting time. It took me quite a few attempts to figure out a way to say this is clearly something worth being said in the title of this article, but saying it in a way that is allowable by today's gatekeepers. Nevertheless, whether it's not easy to articulate what is going on at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, we have to tell the truth. And exactly why I'm making this video as well. Because trust me, the gatekeepers at YouTube aren't going to like this. So please make sure you follow us over on Rumble. The best way I know to do that is by showcasing someone who, again, looks like a male-presenting individual with a traditional male name dressed in a way one might expect a female according to the standards of the past century. And you could also argue a much longer time than that, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, that doesn't matter to them. Tradition and everything that's worked before and will continue to work again in the future doesn't matter to them, because much like Lucifer trying to say that he could be like God and be better than God, they are trying to rewrite the world in their own image, no matter how much the world and the rest of the rules that God did establish for us say otherwise. That's why this mentality and all of this ideology comes from one place, hell itself, and is authored by the father of lies. Once again, boys are boys and girls are girls, and no matter how much your mentality tries to say otherwise, your DNA, your genetics, and the way God made you says otherwise. One might expect a female according to the standards of the past century. They're doing hair and makeup for little girls, as you can see from the picture right here. And I mean, honestly, tell me that isn't a creepy look on this person's face. Whether or not that's a story in your eyes is up to you. You may see, well, that's totally normal, or why would anyone be upset by that? Either you're not paying attention or you're part of the cult if you feel like that. I'm just being honest. I'm not going to be as nice as Pro. He's a much better man than I am. Others might feel very differently. Hi. And that's what seems to be happening, as our guest at the theme of Disney parks recently reached out to us at that park place and sent some photos along with a very unhappy reaction. According to the reader, whose young niece was given a makeover by male-presenting cast members in a dress, where are the fathers? I mean, I know most of the mothers have been taken over by the cult, unless they're actually married to a strong man that will push back against this nonsense and BS. We know that. But where is the father? Where are any of them during these times? Men, step up and do your fucking job! The one God charged you with! Fucking pussy beta-ass male bitches! I'm sick of it! Where the fuck is the father? I'm glad I was wandering the park with my son when this happened, but my niece did get her hair done by a man named Hector wearing a dress at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. I have pictures to prove it. We also have another picture of a male cast member in the Alice in Wonderland costume. So it's not just a one-off. They weren't trying to respect someone's pronouns. They weren't trying to just accept them as who they are and who they represented. No, this is a consistent and constant thing throughout Disney. We've seen the Maleficent person that very much looked and sounded like a man in the Maleficent costume. And now we have Alice in Wonderland as well. I wonder if those ones have mustaches, or did they make them trim it off for that? We followed up by asking whether or not we could share these images in an article and acknowledging that we would hide the face of the child for obvious reasons. Our reader replied, "Yes, you have my full permission. I'm pretty sick and tired to see what is happening to the parks and the people who work there. The first thing I should have heard from my niece should have been, 'Uncle, look at my hair and makeup.' Not, 'Uncle, a guy in a dress did my hair and makeup.'" Because even your children, those sweet, innocent of children of God that Jesus Christ himself said, it is better to have a millstone thrown around your neck and be thrown into the sea than harm one of these innocent children. Boy, I wonder what's going to happen to the folks at Disney. Pretty stupid thing to have burned into your memory, but that's exactly what happened, says the uncle. This is not the first time that this sort of thing has made headlines. Disney has previously been criticized for this sort of hiring practice, and we have to admit that not a significant number of families and belief systems are likely offended by biological men in dresses doing little girls' hair and makeup. And that right there is a major problem with society. Y'all need Jesus. That's especially true when the cost is high. Plus, there seems to be no way to know if this will happen to any given family. One might easily imagine that some Christian families, some Muslim families, some Jewish families, and many families of conservative and or mainstream worldviews would find this objectionable. Yeah, just a touch. I lost my voice in this one for a reason. It's not on the grounds of immutable differences or degenerating any person that families might object, but rather about behaviors and patterns that some view as inappropriate around children. Yes, you want to dress up like a lady and go dance at some adults club and do all kinds of perverted and weird crap? By all means, have at it. Keep this garbage, demonic shit away from our kids. I thought Walt Disney was a family-friendly company. Guess not. I guess I know what kind of families you're friendly towards now, don't we? The rightness or wrongness of these thoughts is up to the reader to decide. That said, the economic consequence of this is indisputable. Disney seems to be in a very serious downturn for park attendance, and it is seen by some as the key problem for their stock suffering an approximate 60% decline in value over the last 3 years from its high. Cultural differences are something to pay attention to when reported on these sorts of articles. A man in a kilt likely wouldn't cause a problem, but a man in a dress likely creates even more economic damage to Disneyland and Disney World. Let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are. WDO Pro says, my position here is to report the news to you, and you decide how the facts land with you. Well, that's not why you come to the Common Nerds channel. Yes, this kind of garbage, this kind of shit, as well as all the stuff that they pulled in the movies, all the stuff they pulled in the televisions, disrespecting the audience, disrespecting the lore, disrespecting their betters, disrespecting the people, the giants whose shoulders they stand upon, including Walt Disney himself, has led to this kind of degeneracy. They think they know better. They think their worldview is the right worldview, and they will force you to accept it. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you accept it, you bigot. They're going to indoctrinate your kids. They're going to make sure your kids think this kind of behavior is normal. So that way, when the man in the dress tries to touch them inappropriately, they'll go, well, mommy and daddy said this person was okay to be trusted because they're not mentally delusional. It's okay for a boy to wear girls' clothes. And then what happens? I would say you'd end up on To Catch a Predator, but I think a lot of those shows are gone now because they invade the privacy of these pedophiles. Well, guess what? This humble comment nerd is going to give you his opinion, and like he has throughout this entire video. This degeneracy leads to one thing and one thing only. Not only your soul being damned to hell, but they are trying to turn pedophilia into something that is nothing more than a new gender. It's nothing more than a new sexuality. They want your children, and they want to destroy, devastate, and damage them just the way they were damaged and destroyed as children as well. Hurt people, and I, for one, am not going to stand for this fucking sick perversion! And I'm going to call it out. And I don't care what it does to my algorithm. I don't care what it does to any of the rest of that. Because when I stand before my God, I will be able to stand and say, yes, sir. I stood on the wall and I called it out while everyone else was saying it was okay. I will not face my Creator and put my head down in shame that I did not say something, that I was afraid of how others would react, that I was afraid what the culture's response would be. I would be afraid of what job I would lose. I would be afraid of what friends I would ostracize. Well, fuck them and fuck that. They don't decide what's right and true in this world. He does. And I will stand against this as long as I am physically able to, and as long as we can continue breathing free air, and as long as we still have our God-given right to free speech. Because these sick, Satan-worshiping minions of hell pedophiles need to be fucking called out and need to be separated and taken away from all of our children to never, ever darken their doorstep again. And fuck you, Disney, for allowing this kind of sick shit. Trust me, you're going to get yours for this as well. And it's going to be far worse than the billions of dollars that you have lost. I'd be much more worried about where I'm spending eternity than how much my friends pat me on the back at cocktail parties.